Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So I'm finally coming back to Snake Eye, rocking the list you see, well, obviously the list you see before you here. It is a little bit different. I have been experimenting a little bit with the Snake Eye build, just with some ratios mostly, but I do have a new card that I haven't been playing before, and that is going to be the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. I have been wanting to include another card I can search off of Poplar for quite some time now. I've definitely been noticing that 2 Original Sin and 1 Field Spell is not quite enough. I was going to try Dramatic Snake Eye Chase, but the more I thought about it, the more Sinful Spoils of Subversion made sense to me. For the same reasons that we like playing Kurikara Divine Karna in a deck like this, right? And actually I had a YouTube comment, if I recall correctly, that pointed this out. And that was that, yeah, if you are able to search a good going second card in the form of Kurikara Divine Karna, then being able to search it the Sinful Spoils of Subversion as well, makes going second also a little bit easier there too. Going second is going to be kind of the topic of this video because, let me tell you something. In the past couple of days playing this deck on Diamond Ladder, I've been having horrible luck with coin tosses, right? And thanks to, the Untapped companion, I can actually go through and actually see how many coin tosses I've won and lost. I'm not exaggerating. In the last 30 duels I've played, all with this deck, I have won 5. 5 of those coin tosses out of 30. And in spite of that, we ranked up. We actually went up within Diamond rank, in spite of losing all of those coin tosses. I think this is really important to note because I've seen this said about this particular meta multiple times, but it's something that people say about literally every meta is that, oh, it's such a coin toss meta. If you lose the coin flip, you're just gonna lose. And I think that's a really defeatist mentality to take for literally zero reason. Like, beyond just being wrong, like, what is the actual reason to tell yourself something like that? You're only setting yourself back. You're not going to rank up with a mentality like that. You're just not, frankly. You're only setting yourself up. I know why people do it. I think the idea is to give yourself an excuse to be like, oh, well, I'm losing because I'm losing coin flips, right? But I think that at the end of the day, it becomes a self-feeding cycle where, like, you're losing coin flips and then losing the game, so you tell yourself, well, I only lost the duel because I lost the coin flip. So now, in the future, when you lose coin flips, you're less incentivized to try in the game because, oh, I lost the coin flips, so that means I have to lose the game. But no, it's not like that at all. If anyone ever tells you, no matter what the meta is, if anyone tells you it's a coin flip meta, don't listen to that person. Not just in regards of, like, that particular piece of advice, but I'm even gonna go so far as to say about, like, anything relating to Yu-Gi-Oh! It's a totally defeatist mentality that is not helpful in any way, shape, or form. And it is also a mentality that is disprovable, as I have disproven here, by, again, playing 30 games, losing 25 of those 30 coin flips, and still ranking up from Diamond 5 to Diamond 4, right? So, actually, almost Diamond 3 now. So, yeah, it's like, the games are going to be harder. I'm not going to pretend like it's, like, the same as going first, but a lot of the ways that you can curb that is actually in the deck building process, and that's also what we've done here. If we count the total of tools we have for going second, right? Let's start with hand traps. We're playing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 cards that we can use from our hand during the opponent's turn, right? In addition to that, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 cards that can also be used during our turn going second to help clear the opponent's board breakers, as it were. The triple attacks could also be Forbidden Droplets. I think that's also a fine board breaker for this deck, but I do like triple attack just very slightly better. Both triple attack and droplet have the amazing strength of being good both going first or second, making them ideal board breaker cards. But, really when it all comes down to it, we have a total of 19 cards, half of our deck, that is good when we are going second. Oh, speaking of some of these 19 cards, let's talk about Joel and Lockbird for a second. So, every now and then, I'll kind of, like, search my name up on, like, various, just various sites to see if people were saying anything about the videos of the builds. And I saw some people, like, mocking my decision to include Joel and Lockbird and Snake Eye. They're like, oh, what do they think? Super Heavy Samurai is so good? Like, it's so bad! And it's like, alright, that's what I like to call level 1 thinking. I'm not going to play Droll and Lockbird because Super Heavy Samurai isn't the most popular deck anymore. That's level 1 thinking. The reason that I play Droll and Lockbird is mainly not to counter decks like Super Heavy Samurai and Manadium, but actually to help play through Max C, which Snake Eye does have a noticeable problem with. Because you might be thinking, well, yeah, Snake Eye can just play through Droll and it's the most played deck, so why play Droll? But again, it's to help with Max C, a card we notice we have trouble with. So if, for example, you normal summon Snake Eye Ash, add Poplar, activate Poplar's effect, and they chain Max C while you have Droll in hand. What you can do is, you can special Poplar, they'll get the draw. Don't use Droll yet, because you want to use Poplar to add the Original Sin or the Temple, whatever you need for your combo line. If you already open those cards, you don't need them, then yeah, you can just draw the first Max C draw. But if you need Original Sin for your combo line, for example, right, you can use Poplar, add Original Sin, and then on the next special summon, when they draw off Max C, then you Droll and Lockbird them. Because at that point, this deck doesn't need to search anymore. So at that point, you've given them 2 draws, which is still a +1, but you got to do your full combo line, whereas you wouldn't before. So that's the real reason to play Droll and Lockbird in this deck. Again, if people are telling you, don't play Droll and Snake Eye because it's not good against the mirror match, that's, again, level 1 thinking. I'm not saying you have to play Droll. I'm not saying I think it's mandatory. I think you could definitely not play Droll and experience a lot of success. But, again, to the critics out there who are like, bro, your list is so bad. Are you really still rocking Droll? Yeah, I definitely am. I think it has a lot of application in this meta. You just gotta think a little bit, that's all. As far as the extra deck goes, we're not really doing, I think, anything different than last time. We still have the Zeolantis, and I do still think that is the way to go over playing something like a Selene. Selene does open up a lot of options, and I think there were worlds where I could see myself putting Selene back in the extra deck, but I think ultimately she's most useful for climbing up to access code, and like I've said last time, you know, if my options are another very situational way to go for this OTK line, or a new OTK line that is independent of access code, I think including one card in the extra deck to open up another OTK line is definitely the way to do things here. Let's see, other things about this list. You could be playing multiple Nibiru. Nibiru is actually really good right now. Again, there are some people out here who are still saying, why would you play Nibiru? It's so bad against Snake Eye, he'll just proc the Flamberge F to summon stuff, or the Divine Temple F to summon their cards. But it's like, well, yeah, that's why we time our hand traps and not just click yellow buttons and shotgun them right away, right? If you actually wait until the Snake Eye players have used the Flamberge F, then yeah, it's pretty easy to drop a Nibiru on them and have that be very, very impactful at stopping their turn, their board state, and just everything that they are capable of doing. It does become a little bit tricky if they do get the field spell out. I've actually considered playing a second field spell for this reason. That might sound a little bit weird because you don't even need the one to do your combo lines necessarily. But this card is very, very good in Nibiru Enshrines. And it makes playing around Nibiru a lot easier. That is, if you're using this deck, that is one thing to be mindful of, is playing around Nibiru, right? Like, if you're doing kind of the standard turn 1 combo line, then yeah, it's kind of like they either have or they don't a lot of the time. Or sometimes, not even necessarily a lot. But, you know, if it's turn 2 or later, then definitely keeping that in mind. I mean, just in general, keeping it in mind. But that is another reason why I like the triple tack. Like, being able to rip the Nibiru out of their hand after they've used another hand trap beforehand, because they probably will, because of course this only comes down after the 5th summon, right? Is very, very helpful. So, okay, I'm going to break this list down card by card, and then we're going to see some games where I'm going to be going second every single time. Every single game we're going to see today, I'm going to be going second. But again, we're going to win and rank up regardless. So, for this list, we are playing 2 Effect Veiler, 2 Droll and Lockbird, 1 Jet Synchron, 1 Kraykar Divine Carnate, 3 Snake Eye Ash, 1 Snake Eye Oak, 3 Snake Eyes Poplar, 3 Maxi, 3 Ash Blossom and a Joyous Spring, 3 Dia Bellstar, the Black Witch, 2 Snake Eyes Flamberge Dragon, 1 Nibiru, the Primal Being, 2 Triple Tactics Talent, 1 Sinful Spoils of Subversion, Snake Eye, 2 Original Sinful Spoils, Snake Eye, 1 Divine Temple of the Snake Eye, 2 Call by the Grave, 1 Crossout Designator, 3 Wanted, Seeker of Sinful Spoils, and then finally 3 Infinite Permanents. That's going to round out our main deck. For the extra deck, we are on 1 Formula Synchron, 1 Borload Savage Dragon, 1 Baron Diffler, 1 Lee Karibo, 1 Hita the Flame Charmer, Fire Charmer rather, Ablaze, 1 IP Masquerade, 1 Dark the Dark Charmer Gloomy, 1 Sprite Elf, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames, 1 Amphibious Swarm Ship Ambler Whale, 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, 1 Access Code Talker, 1 World Sea Dragon Zealantis, and, oh, this is actually a new addition to our extra deck, 1 Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. I knew there was something different. Yeah, we added in Underworld Goddess. I love it. She's great. I think almost any deck that has IP should probably just be playing this card, and she's been a welcome addition since putting her in. Definitely very good. I think I took out Salmon Great Sunlight Wolf for her. That card is also good, it just does not come up as often. And also I'm not playing Heat Soul, so yeah. Alright, that'll do it for the list. Let's see some games. Okay, let us start by showing a game against Spiral. Not the kind of deck you want to be going second against, but however, we are going to end up having a lot of very good tools to utilize against them here. Indeed, opening one of each. This is like kind of the perfect going second hand. Like, I don't know if I could sculpt a better going second hand. They're not all going to look this good though. We didn't just rank up by getting lucky, but here, one thing that's really important to know, especially when you're playing against a deck like Spiral, is how to utilize your hand traps. You can open all of them in the world, but when is a good time to use them? And I gotta tell you, Spiral is a deck that I don't know at all. I don't know how this deck combos. I don't even really know what the end board typically looks like, except for I know they have like Nightmare Griffin, I think, but I'm going to utilize the knowledge that I do have playing against this deck here. So they're going to lead with the Ravine, and I thought at first it was going to be Dragon Link until they discarded the Spiral Mission Assault, right? So that obviously tells me they're on Spiral, and it also tells me what they're trying to do with this Ravine. I might not know much about Spiral, but one of the things I do know is that they do play the Destrudo, which can open up the Ancient Fairy Dragon, which can send the Ravine to set the Spiral Field Spell, rather, the Spiral, and just generally be a material / extender as well for their combo line. So I'm going to use the Ash Blossom here. Another reason I'm willing to use Ash Blossom in this situation, right, is because I already have the Droll and Lockbird in hand. So if you open both Ash Blossom and Droll and Lockbird, then it definitely pays to think about how you're going to use the Ash Blossom. There are so many games where I'll have an opponent Ash my first search and then Droll after my second one. I'm like, all right, well then why did you Ash my first search, right? It's something that it's very, very common, honestly. So I'm also seeing that, like, you know, they do have the ability to summon a Spiral monster out from the hand on the next Chain Link. Maxi's going to be helpful for that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm definitely willing to Ash now for all these reasons and more. Another reason why I like Ashing sooner rather than later in a situation like this is because I don't want to get my opponent in a situation where they're able to have more resources before I Ash Blossom, because that's going to make my Ash Blossom less effective, because it's going to be easier for them to have follow-up plays, right? Also, by ashing them and not letting them get to any like searches or anything, I'm forcing them to play with the cards that they opened, and then for that reason, it's going to be more difficult for them to make plays. They do have an Ash Blossom for my Max C, so that's not going to be, it's not going to be like the easiest win in the world in that regard. But we just have the Droll and Lockbird, and again, I'm reaching for the few things I do know about Spiral, and this is one of them. That Master Plan is a very good card because she is only a soft once per turn for the search effect. I know that this deck needs to do a lot of searching, so I also know that Droll is going to be effective. A lot of the time when it comes to how to use hand traps, right? Because that's one of the biggest questions that I get asked is how do I use these hand traps? Especially for a matchup where I don't know the deck well. Generally speaking, I gotta say sooner rather than later. If you know choke points, then you can definitely take advantage of that. But here, as we can see, the early Ash Blossom stopped them from setting up, and the early Droll has also now completely shut off all of their lines. I know one of these cards in hand is a trap card, plus one unknown card. So they're going to lead with the last unknown card, which is actually Max C. And because I opened a just great going second hand, we even have the Called By to help take care of it as well. So again, you know, it's pretty easy to look at that game and be like, oh, well, you just opened every hand trap, so of course you won going second. But again, I do think that proper utilization of the hand traps, especially in a situation where you're not familiar with the matchup, is very, very important. And it's so easy to get lost and, like, wait for a big looking effect to, like, you know, it's so easy to be like, oh, well, I'll just wait for their, like, boss monster to come out, and then I can Veiler that. Or, like, oh, I'll just wait for, you know, them to search an important card or a card that seems important, and then I'll Ash that. But again, I really do think that if you're not familiar with the opponent's combo lines, do it earlier rather than later, generally speaking. And especially if they're doing a lot of searching, like our opponent was here, doing it early leaves them with the cards they open with, which makes it more difficult for them to then play. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at our next duel. Alright, next game is going to be up against Infernal Knights, another very long-form combo deck that you really don't want to end up going second against, right? And I gotta tell you, this time we're not going to end up having the luxury we did last time of opening a lot of hand traps. In fact, we opened literally none. We do have the create card Divine Incarnate, but honestly, a lot of this hand is just really not looking that good. Poe's going to lead with the Heritage of the Chalice for the Augur. Augur is going to send the Turpin. They have the Infernal Arms All-Mace. I will say their hand looked a little bit awkward here. Like, I know opening All-Mace is a little, like, you know, it's not ideal, necessarily, but, I mean, no matter what they end up doing, I'm just not going to be able to respond to it, again, because of the lack of hand traps here. And honestly, the other thing that makes this hand really awkward is the fact that I not only have 2 Diabel, but also have the original Sin in hand anyway. But this does make me very, very glad that I'm playing the Sinful Spoils of Subversion, because if it weren't for that, then I really wouldn't have anything to search up with the Diabel. That's useful. I could set a Wanted for, like, the follow-up turn if it comes, but yeah. The Sinful Spoils, on the other hand, the Subversion, rather, that one is going to be very, very helpful here. Alright, yeah, their combo they end up doing looks pretty atypical. I don't know if their hand was bad or if they just weren't the most, like, experienced player when it comes to playing Infernobles, but, I mean, I'm not either, so I'm not trying to, like, throw shade at them or anything. I guess I do set up the Amble Whale plus Promethean and the Phoenix Gearfried as well. Maybe their hand really just wasn't that great here. Divine Temple's not a bad draw at all. I'm definitely going to lead with it and throw out some Nibiru Insurance in the form of the Flamberge. Diabel can just pitch the extra Diabel, that's easy enough. Going to activate her effect to set the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. Opponent's going to Promethean Princess right away. That is 100% fine with me. This, I think, I'm going to be honest here, I think this was an awful play on my opponent's part. One, I've already set up the Flamberge, so, like, you should know that I'm going to be summoning this, right? And two, like, it's Diabel. Like, I very obviously don't care about her, like, as a card. Like, I'm going to end up using her either as a material or just sending her off of the original Sin anyway. So I think, again, kind of going in the same theme as the last game, talking about the importance of timing your disruption well, I think we're seeing from our opponent here a great example of poor timing, frankly. I don't know why they thought Diabel was a valuable card enough to pop with the Promethean Princess, but it's, again, fine with me. I still get to set the original Sinful Spoils, and now I get to summon out my Flamberge as well. They do get the Durandal effect, but it's like, it doesn't do them any good on my turn. Oh, well, it does summon, okay, it summons out the Renaud. I guess that adds an extra body to the board, but it's like, how impactful is that? Like, not at all. In fact, the Renaud is actually going to be at their detriment here, because now my Kurikara is live, where previously she just was not at all before. Because Kurikara can only eat monsters who have activated their monster effects on the field, or like in a monster zone, and Promethean Princess activated in the graveyard. So, by my opponent summoning and activating Renaud, they allowed me to summon Kurikara. Again, I was not able to summon it before this. They are going to use the original, or an Ash Blossom on the original Sin, which I think is an okay disrupt. I think they should have waited for the Snake Eye Ash, personally, but it's not horrible. I guess I already had, like, you know, enough monsters on the field at this point, right? So I'm just going to use Oak to add the Ash and then summon it, and just kind of go for the combo line that way, because I already have a Flamberge out, so I don't need to use my stuff necessarily to, like, Oak's effect, I mean, to be getting out of Flamberge, right? But yeah, now I can use Ash and Link Krebo to link into Hita. I'm just going to go for an access code line at this point. I'm just going to make things easy. We even get to take the Amble Whale, which is going to make going for the access code line even easier. Yep, here's the Nightmare Unicorn, as well as the Flamberge F, of course, and they're just going to concede at this point, yeah. Even if I hadn't had an Amble Whale to take to, because with access code to OZK, you of course need another at least 2,700 points of damage, right? So if my opponent hadn't had the Amble Whale for me to take, I still could have found lethal, right? I could have brought back the Yeah, this real quick. I could have brought back with Flamberge's effect Ash and Oak, and I actually hadn't used Snake Eye Ash's second effect yet, so I could have used it in conjunction with the Poplar in the Spell Trap Zone to summon the second Flamberge from my main deck, and then that would have been the 3k attack points alongside access codes, which would have gotten over 8,000 damage to lethal the opponent. So, yeah, I didn't even need the Ambler Whale, but the Ambler Whale was just like, oh, that's easy. I'll just take that, right? So, all right, good stuff. Got another game, 2 more games actually to check out. Let's see the next one. All right, let's go second against Drytron now. I didn't even realize that all these games I saved were me going second against like super big long-form combo decks. I actually forget exactly how well I opened in this one. Let's see here. Okay, we have an Imperm. That's something. And we have the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. But you'll notice every one of these hands has at least one, if not 2, tools to help me go second. And again, that's definitely by design for this deck, right? Now, thankfully, here, our opponent had a pretty bad hand. Like, usually one Imperm is not enough to stop Drytron, but here it looks like all they could really do is combo into the Herald of the Arclight, which I'm not even concerned about enough to use the Imperm on, honestly. Well, I don't even need the Imperm because I have the Sinful Spoils of Subversion. I can just use that. Yeah, so they're going to negate that, and then they get the Search effect. I'm fine with this. I think Ben 10 is the card they searched last time, so I know they have Ben 10 and Benetana's Drytron in hand. Going to start by normal summoning Snake Eyes Poplar. I'm not leading with Diabell, mainly because I didn't open with Snake Eye Ash, right? Like, if I had opened with Snake Eye Ash, I think I probably would have still Diabelled first in that situation. Or I would have Diabelled first in that situation, because then it baits out my opponent's negate if they think I'm going for Snake Eye Ash, and I can just normal summon Snake Eye Ash anyway. By the way, that's also why if you're playing against this deck, you should save Ash Blossom / Valor / Imperm for Snake Eye Ash. Don't use any of those cards against Diabell or Original Sin, and especially don't ever Ash Blossom Wanted. Never Ash Blossom this card. That's always an incorrect decision. I really struggle to think of a world where Ash Blossoming the Diabell, unless your opponent's in, or the Wanted rather, unless your opponent's in like top deck mode, would ever be correct. But yeah, no, again, but because I had Poplar rather, now I want to actually use Poplar as the disrupt bait because I want the Snake Eye Ash. The Snake Eye Ash is just what I value the most, right? Of course I do. It's the deck's 1-card combo line, so definitely going to want to value that highly, very highly here. Going to use the Divine Temple to set up the material to send away for the Original Sin, summoning the Snake Eye Ash. Poplar is going to get negated because of the called by, so I don't get to have that body on the board, but I'm also not really going to need it. I can use Oak to pull the Poplar out of my Banish. Oak send itself with Flamberge to pull out the second Flamberge from my deck. Now the Flamberge from the spell Trap Zone will activate, bringing back Ash and Oak. Now I can link Oak and Poplar into Hita, right? Yeah, Hita, and then I'm just going for lethal here. But even if my opponent didn't have a fire monster for me to take, I think I probably could have found lethal another way. Like, that's the thing. I've seen some people say that, oh, Ash Blossom isn't very good in this meta because of Hita, but it's like, it's just one extra material. It's like, usually your opponent can just find that anyway. It's really very little, very few games is it actually going to make the difference between you winning and losing, you know, them taking one extra material off of Hita in the form of Ash Blossom. But, yeah, let's take a look at our last duel now. Alright, this last game's going to be another doozy. We're playing against 60-card Infernal Mikono. Yet another long-form combo deck that you do not want to go second against. And we are. Opening Nibiru and Triple Tack as our kind of going second tools for this game here. Flo's going to lead with the Infernal Oliver. Of course, by sending the Mayawashi Dori, we definitely know they're the Mikono variant straight out the gate here. So, but then, yeah, Sublimation Knight is definitely also enough to tell me that, as well as the Squeak Knight that it'll then equip. So now they're going to link off for the Isold, and then I think after the Isold summon is when I end up dropping the Nibiru here. Yeah, because we're going to get to add the Neospace connector, but she can't use her effects because she just got, you know, added off of Isold, of course. Yep, here's the Nibiru. Unfortunately for me, they have a Maxi, so I was planning on them only having, like, 2 unknown cards, And, you know, in that regard, I was kind of thinking, like, okay, they probably won't have plays through that. But now they get an extra draw, which is going to be a little bit problematic. I also did forget about the Mayowashi Dori. That was a misplay on my part. I definitely should have waited for that effect to activate. So yeah, it's like, I don't know for sure if they actually drew the Renaud off of, like, or, you know, anything else they're about to play off of those two cards that they drew off the Maxi, but I think I did Nibiru too early here. I should have waited. See, this is, again, what I've been talking about the whole video. Like, knowing when to use these hand traps is... knowing when to use Disruption, period, is a very valuable skill that the Yu-Gi-Oh! Community and the mass just does not acknowledge. It's not even... I was going to say that they undervalue them, but undervalue implies that they acknowledge it at all. They just don't. Playing Disrupts and hand traps is... and timing it well is, again, something that every player should know if they're going to be successful playing the game competitively, right? But again, nobody ever talks about that. People talk about, oh, you have 3, 4, 5 negates or whatever on your end board, but yeah, nobody talks about actually using them. So, speaking of disrupts, I'm going to play through the Angelica's Angelic Ring here by starting off with the Cross-Set Designator, calling Imperm, just on the off chance that actually did resolve, and this is Imperm, but again, that'll bait out the spell negate from the Angelica's Angelic Ring. That'll let me use the Wanted, also during the draw phase, successfully now to add the Diabell Star. I'm going to pitch one of my leftover Triple Tactics talent for the Diabell. Diabell is going to activate her effect when it's going to chain with the Immortal Phoenix Gearfried. This will make my Triple Attack live. My opponent does also have a Herald of the Arclight though, so we will have to pay some mind to that. I'm going to actually bait out the Herald of the Arclight with the Triple Attack. I kind of think... I kind of wonder if that was a misplay, actually. I'm thinking about it now. I almost wonder if I should have battled over the Herald and then triple attacked and then gone for plays. That is something that I've done before in the past and that I'm not unwilling to do either. That is to say, use my battle phase as a resource. That's another thing I never hear people talking about, but I think is an important thing to acknowledge is that, like, you don't necessarily always have to win the first turn you have the ability to attack. I think a lot of people, especially with a deck like this, will be too focused on doing that. Sometimes it pays to think like, okay, what if I battle over one of their monsters to get over it and then combo off, right? Alright, now here I'm going to end up having to use the Wanted to draw a lot earlier than I would have liked to just try to get some amount of, like, extension. I don't really get there as far as extension goes, but I did get an Ash Blossom, which should help me play on my opponent's turn here, so... Alright, once again, we're going to use Hita. This time, however, I'm going to make the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. This will not only get rid of that Phoenix Gearfried, but also negates all of my opponent's cards. Meaning I can battle over and get rid of the Mikono, and then take my Snake Eye Ash back. So, didn't win. Unfortunately, didn't get rid of every card on my opponent's board, but I don't hate the state we're in. I'm going to use the Ash Blossom on the Ohime. We know that they had that, so now they have to have plays within just the last couple of cards left in their hand. But unfortunately for me, one of those cards is going to be the Neospace Connector, which we did know about last turn. So in hindsight, I probably should just use the Ash Blossom on that. But honestly, between the Ohime and the Neospace Connector, it's like, I think my opponent was always going to have some amount of plays here. There are some situations where you just can't play through everything your opponent has. And for me, I think this game state kind of ended up being one of those situations here. I'm going to summon out the Lingaribo now, before there's an equip card in the field, because they do have the Phoenix Gearfried on board, but I also don't think that's going to matter. Because equip spells do target, that means they are going to make for some outs to the Underworld Goddess here, unfortunately. Is this Amble Whale? No, this is Ferocious Flame Swordsman, that's right. Oh, we're just battling over the Underworld Goddess. I forgot about that aspect of it. But yeah, now I'm in top deck mode. My opponent has a live Phoenix Gearfried, so even my one-card top deck of Snake Eye Ash is not going to be enough to get me there. And Max C showing up right on time, right at the very end. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to try to pretend I'm out here winning literally every single duel I go second. And this was one of those cases where I didn't end up winning. But I did manage to play through more of my opponent's board than I thought I was going to. Which shows that I was a lot closer to winning than a lot of people would have assumed I was. I think that's the case generally speaking, like, a lot of the time too. Even in the games where it feels like you got blown out, you were probably only 1 or 2 negates away from actually winning the duel. And I think just having that knowledge in mind makes, you know, follow-up games that much easier to win. I've talked a lot about mentally conceding, especially a lot in the past on the channel. Giving up before you've actually hit the surrender button. It's something that a lot of players do, and I think it's the kind of thing that players who say that this is a coin toss format would argue. That you should just concede if you see your opponent start to go off. But you shouldn't. That's a mistake. That is 100% a mistake. Think about the... Well, not the Spiral game, because I just had a lot of hand traps, but think about that second Infernal game in particular. So many people out there would have just conceded as soon as they saw Infernobles were comboing off. But the opponent ended on a lackluster board, and we were able to battle over it. How many of those games out there, if you're the kind of person who just automatically surrenders the duel as soon as you start to see a deck like Infernal combo off and you have no hand traps, I wonder how many of those games you could have won. The answer is a lot more than you would probably think. But yeah, I mostly spread this information to help encourage players, because I see so many players getting discouraged about playing on ladder because they feel like they can't win when they lose the coin toss. But yeah, it's just not true. Not even just because I'm playing Snake Eye, it's true of a lot of decks too. Again, as long as you're gearing your deck and optimally building it for going first or second. Alright, I think that's going to go ahead and do it for these games. Thank you so very much, everyone, for watching. Yeah, we'll just move to our outro now. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for supporting there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.